Hello, my little wiglets. If you're new here, I'm just going to leave that nickname unexplained. It leaves room for you to decide what a wiglet means to you. You know, love readings keep on coming to me lately, and I don't really know why, but this one has an interesting texture to it. It is looking like this reading is going to focus on astrology, particularly upcoming transits for the next month. But whenever this reading finds you, the energy could be general. It doesn't have to be specific or time bound. Just know that it probably found you for a reason. I'll be posting the exact transit dates and the ephemeris data in the description for you to read more about if you are into astrology and all those goodies. But again, just remember, does not have to be date specific depending on when you come in. But I am going to be focusing on March of 2026. So this is what looks like a reading that is surrounding a specific type of person, a very specific person. And what's coming through to determine if this reading is for you is almost too specific, almost more specific than I like, really. But it comes through as a trait paradox, is what it's looking like. It's showing me something very odd that may have happened in your past, almost hypocritical in a sense. You're being presented to me as the type of person who has what looks like very obvious kindness. And this type of kindness is not present in other people. It's not common that I sense this type of kind person. And what's happened is you've almost had to harden or retreat in a way to protect this type of gentleness at a very early age. So when I say this, you might not even associate yourself with a kind person because of that protection mechanism that you had to do very early on to survive. But some of you might know why you had to do it. You might be more aware. And the reason I'm talking about all this very specific trait of yours, this gentleness, this kindness, is because what's interesting is you've gravitated towards people who are the opposite, who embody the opposite of your trait. They either possess what looks like a manipulative or an unkind energy, and they project that unhealed version onto you. And the paradox that I'm being shown, or why it's coming to me, is it's interesting. They call or present you as the cruel person in the relationship, either in conflict, either indirectly. I'm not really sure. It's shown very clearly that you, as a result, question if you are cruel because you had to harden to protect your depth. And these people, this person, project what they feel is their cruelty, their ungentleness onto you. So I know that sounds very specific, but this reading looks to be towards a very specific type of person. It's geared towards someone who kind of had to harden a little bit. And if you don't really know if that's you, a good sign, I suppose, is if you have doubted if you are cruel or mean in a relationship because you've been presented as such from other people. Like they have made you out to be the hurtful, harmful, or mean one. And as a result, you've doubted that. You've doubted your traits. This reading, past that specificness, is really talking about a love from the past, a connection from the past, a person from the past, a situation from the past, and then a very strong upcoming future energy as well. There's a tension split in this reading. I think it's going to evolve to explain the details over the next month for you, like what's going to happen for you with these two types of energies. It looks like you need to make a choice. There's like a resurface and a decision point that comes out for you. And if that maybe sounds like what you've experienced in past relationships, and that sounds like it might resonate for your future, welcome to your reading. Right off the bat here, there is something, this might not be related, this might be random. There is something you need to take a break from to find clarity. Some of you could be working on something and it's not moving in a way that feels right now, like it's stagnant or it's stuck for you, and you're not really understanding why. There's a message here to take more breaks and to revisit it after more well-rounded breaks. And this is strange and specific. If you are taking breaks and it's not helping, you're still feeling stagnant in whatever this is, be mindful of how you are breaking. Be mindful of your method of breaks, because consumption or scrolling or dopamine is kind of highlighted here as not a full break type of outlet. That's very specific, but if it resonates for you, it just will. Going back to the reading, It is highlighting March as very, very important. The energy of March is coming through with symbolism. I will be typing more about March in the description. It is an important month for you in a very indirect and direct way, depending on what happens for you. This could also just be like something that has historically been important for you. It could be a birthday month. You could have noticed shifts happen in the past during March. There's something here that's very, very emphasized with the month of March. You could maybe have just noticed that a lot of past events have happened during this month, and that's why it's coming through so strongly as continuing that pattern. There's repetition with this month, and your guides want you to know that March is very important for you, especially in pivot changes that happen for you upcoming. I see a lot of progression here from what looks like stillness to action. So what this is showing me is you spent a lot of time where you are now and where you've been in this sort of liminal or suspended state. Suspension states have a lot of time alone. They are deep rest times. And the way you entered this rest state, it could have happened in different ways. Like you could have pivoted extremely, like dropped a bunch of stuff all at once and started this resting suspension state, or this could have slowly found you over time. But one thing's clear is you've been here for a noticeable amount of time. The shift upcoming moves you from this passivity state that you're in right now and pushes you into action. It pushes you to moving. So either something is coming to you that pushes you, or you experience so many downloads internally that your energy just shifts on its own. And I see both as a possibility, the external being the past and future energies of love, like I mentioned at the beginning. I'll get into that, I think, later. But for the internal shifters, which, by the way, it could be both. You could have external people come to you and you could also be internally shifting. But for the internal ones that may just be solely that, there's a frequency that you might need at this time. If you're feeling like your dreams are rather weird and they're lingering throughout the day, I've mentioned this in so many readings, but it keeps coming up. Your psyche needs some integration help to be able to receive clear downloads from your higher self in this action phase specifically. So I'm going to leave a link to this specific frequency because it'll help ungunkify the stickiness in your dreams. This is the only way I could phrase what this is. So I'll post that frequency. It's just your psyche might need help. And that's why these dreams are lingering. That's why they're sticky, is it's doing a lot of work right now. Okay, so past the internal subconscious purging that some of you are working through, there's also a group or a part of this that has to do with something external pushing you. It's not download related. It is a person either coming or coming back, and it pushes you into this action space. So March just seems to be what looks like overall action oriented. You might be pushed into doing, into moving quicker than you maybe realize, or that would surprise you from where you are now. I pulled a few tarot cards here, and it looks like they are also really firmly supporting this action phase. For some of you, it really looks like an old love or something with emotional stickiness is coming back here. That's a very strong energy, this past connection, this past love. On their side, once this March energy hits you, it looks like they can feel that because this healing phase that you've been in has been really quiet. You were basically what looks like offline while you were growing and, like, let's just say in cocoon energy, and they couldn't really sense you. They couldn't really feel anything from you. But the moment where you come back online in this March space, in this action energy, is they can sense the difference between who you were and who you are now. And it kind of like pushes them. And it's because you did so much intensive work during this offline period, during this internal suspension period. This is often why they say and why it's so common for people to resurface during moments where people finally start moving. So, you know, like the cliche is like, we've all heard them. Like once you're in another relationship or you're moving forward with something else, then someone comes back. It's because that signal can be felt, especially those who took a lot of intensive offline periods and then started moving after that. Usually healing signals are muted. They're quiet. You're purging subconscious gunk during those quiet offline signals. And so the contrast is like extreme. The energy difference is felt. especially from those still attached to you. So really, what's happening here is, for some of you, this past person, when you start coming out of this cocoon, when you start moving in this March action energy, it's going to feel very dramatic for them. It might not feel super dramatic for you because I see you're anticipating this to some degree. You know you're not just going to be in a liminal space forever. You know that something has to give here. But this person will experience something very dramatic. And the only way I could explain it to you is like, you know how sometimes you can pretend something doesn't exist if it's not around you? Like if you don't buy candy, you can maybe sometimes pretend that you don't want sugar. Like this object permanence energy is really strong around this person. When they can't feel or sense you, it doesn't exist to them. It doesn't disturb them. So this person was able to, in the past, move without friction. They were able to kind of forget because your energy was so quiet. It was so offline. You chose to heal when most people don't. Most people keep their energy online, so there's no contrast. But the online period, when you come back, is like a reckoning for this person just because of how long you've been in this healing quiet state and that heavy contrast of being healed and then coming back online. It intensely demands that they see what they've been ignoring for however long. And it's purposeful. It's happening that way. You as like this healed energy is meant to catalyze them in some way. So in the next part, I think I'm going to talk about a future energy, a past energy, and just kind of like the possibilities, the decisions that could come towards you. There's a lot here. I keep hearing coming at you sideways. Why? Is that relevant to some of you? Do you all say that? Sideways, coming at you sideways. Some of you might not have a past circumstance. It's kind of split here. There's like 3 realities of options. Some are heavy focus on the past, some on the present, some are happening together, some are more internal. Is that 4 realities? Maybe not 3. It could be like a mix of all of them. But like I said, this past person, they have this reckoning with this new online signal of yours and how deep of a contrast it is when you start moving again. But there's a lot of transits here that are also supporting a new energy, a new foundation with someone else that is very future oriented. So there could be a split for some of you, a split between the past and the present and future, a decision point, because you're also what looks like laying a foundation here with something important. It's almost like new soil is being planted at the same time this past person is snapping out of it. You begin this moving energy and you're building something at the same time that they're snapping out of it and they're not able to ignore you anymore. So an interesting note that came through here is you might have also felt it was bizarrely out of character for this past person. Like they could have been rather obsessed with you during the connection, but then during the separation or whatever this is, they could have seemed really removed. Like they all of a sudden didn't care out of nowhere. And it was specifically because of this object permanency with your energy and how you went offline, how you cocooned into healing. It was much, much easier to ignore you because of that. But it was because of this contrast that needed to happen. Your guides, their guides. This is very purposefully constructed. So you chose to use this separation as a catalyst for growth. Again, not very common people do that. Most just continue on, but you put your energy offline and you've been working through something internally this entire time while they were benefiting from kind of not having to reckon with this at all. You know what this feels like? It feels like the ultimate revenge energy, like the ultimate comeback. Because all of that time spent healing for you, this contrast is just so much more dramatic for them and not for you because you've been preparing in a way. Going towards this new love, this grounds that you're building in the meantime, it's showing me 3 transits throughout this month. I'll be sure to write them in the description, of course, as always. But for the sake of simplification here, it looks like you are going from a deep healing stage to where you were essentially not able to open up to other connections. There was no expansion in your energy. It was all very much internal healing. So you might have tried to force moving on or doing things that old you would have been able to do, but it didn't work during this time because it was not a time for expansion. It was not a time for outward energy. It was very much internal. So how this is showing up for me is with Jupiter going direct in Cancer. The retrograde energy it was in before was basically taking the expansion energy of Jupiter and supporting internal expansion for you. That was this retrograde for you, is it was supporting your healing inward state. And now that it goes direct, you're able to push it back outward. Now, again, there's a line between the retrograde and the direct of Jupiter that are tied to your expansion, inward and then externally. So in other words, Jupiter here was holding your expansion to grow inwards during that quiet offline period. And now Jupiter is supporting your external growth as it goes direct. And so this maybe feels like why it felt different than other healing stages for you in the past. Like it felt prolonged and more painful, is this one was really internal. This one was supported by this planet strongly. So it almost doubled down on healing, expanding inwards, which could be very uncomfortable, but very necessary. And for those of you who maybe won't have something external move you in this action stage upcoming, for whatever reason, the past doesn't come back, the future doesn't happen. I see this being very unlikely, but let's talk about this option just for 1 second. If nothing comes to you physically externally, is because you're integrating lessons from this internal expansion from Jupiter, and it's helping you be able to sense downloads clearly. Like before this integration, before this work internally, you would not have been able to hear downloads clearly. They would not have been able to move in you in the way that they will now. It's because of this internal work you've done that has cleared the signal, so you're able to move forward without friction. So if nothing comes externally, it is simply just removing the internal barriers that existed within you before to clarify the next steps to you from your guides. So like I mentioned, this can manifest in multiple ways. It can manifest all together. You could have two split external things come to you, this past and future energy. And you could also just be in this new action energy that comes directly from the deep internal work you've done. Your main message here seems to be, however this comes, whether in the form of all three or just one or two, however it comes, the important part is you have a new energy being presented to you with this expansion Jupiter energy. It is taking this internal stage and it is externalizing it directly. And it also is giving clarity to what these last couple of months or however long this internal stage was for you. So Jupiter direct pushes the work that you've done internally in this retrograde phase, and now it is revealing it externally to you. So check Jupiter in your chart. Jupiter is very important in this reading, and see how it transits specifically for you. The house that it does could tell you where expansion is externalizing for you specifically. So be sure to check that out. But for a lot of you here, the energy looks love related. It looks connection related. Either a past connection is being expanded or a future connection is being expanded, or they both are together. There's no constraints to expansion. The internal expansion moving outwards is just you being able to express confidently, be able to move forward in ways you couldn't while you were internalizing expansion. So like if you felt you lacked confidence during this stage, if you felt you couldn't move forward with people you dated or things that you entertained, it was very much because you were integrating, and now this is shifting in ways where you can move forward confidently. You're basically stepping into this phase where you're trusting your feelings more, because integration was basically this like mentally stuck space. While you expanded on the inside, it created a lot of mental chatter. It created a lot of doubt I see here. Retrograde energy is always like present with doubt and mental noise. So this starts changing into action in the action energy lens, and you're able to drop that doubt and feel more confident, especially in love. So for this new love approaching you, it might, what looks like here, start in a very unconventional way. The transit here is showing something that is built in what looks like non-traditional forms. So you could not be aware of this forming as it does, because it happens pretty quietly. It happens in a non-traditional way. Think outside the box for this one. And so I kind of see the decision here being between these two energies, if it does come to that, is where you will want to channel this action, this external growth energy that you now have. So you have active decision energy here, and that's a change from where you've been in this liminal space, in this suspended state, because the action energy is giving you more active choices in front of you. It puts you in energy and in the role to make decisions about what feels right now that you've integrated successfully. So during these decision points, Spirit is advising you to try not to choose hastily. If the past energy does come back urgently, which it seems very likely here, to first allow the emotions to settle before deciding what to do with them. Urgency here might be masking fear instead of true feelings for you. So allow that to settle before you decide, because you shouldn't be forced to make a decision based on the urgency of another person. That won't benefit you in any way. So slow down and use this external expansion energy wisely, because it's so powerful. Basically, the message here, don't expend too much on someone who asks for quick answers, and make sure that they respect this new speed that you have and this new independence that you've gained. Because if you do choose this past thing again, they will have to meet you all over again. They will have to meet this new version of you, because you're not the same as you were in the past. And that will intimidate them. And there will need to be a learning curve that takes time here. I see there's a little bit of a gap with your old energy versus who you are now. And they sense that. And that's kind of what's causing the urgency on their end. Do we even know what wiglets means? Or we're writing this one, together. Okay. My little wiglets. If you're new here and you stuck around despite me calling you a wiglet with no explanation, no rhyme or reason, we just did it and you followed along with me, welcome to the space. You are part of this family and we love you very much. I have to inform you that this space operates a little bit differently than other readers. If you felt this energy was rather detailed, was rather specific, it is because my collective is amazing, first and foremost. And they send me a lot of energetic nudges because I ask for them. An energetic nudge is essentially something that you send to me via your communicational energy. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be an email. It could be you sending me an emoji. It's just me feeling your energy. And it helps me sort the messages that need to go through in a timely manner. I will say one thing. It's not about prioritization. If you feel like you're nudging me a lot and my readings aren't resonating, it is just not a time to hear a message. It's not because I don't feel you. Trust me when I say I feel every single one of you, almost too clearly at times. And I think that's it. I love you guys dearly. So, so, so dearly. Cheers, friends.